Have you ever felt so stressed, so overwhelmed that you couldn't even function? I certainly have. Today, I'm going to do something about it. This is episode number 5 of Becoming Daily. I fight my hardest inner battles, and then I give you the exact tools so you can win yours. What we'll work on today is exercise number 2 out of 100. What I'm really trying to get at is get to a point where it's okay when I feel stressed. There's good forms of stress. I understand that. If I'm about to do a presentation and gets me ready and pumped up, that's positive stress. I'm talking about the negative form of stress where sometimes I feel like it's kind of taking over and I'm operating in an autopilot mode. I'm going to create this tool that will help me be the kind of person that has the ability, has the power, inner power to choose whether or not I want the stress to take over because I need that extra pump, or tell my body to go back and return to safety. What I'm trying to achieve here is create a tool that's going to help me to understand and feel, sense when my stress starts to build up so that I can fully understand what's about to happen and I can take control and decide whether or not I'm going to ride this wave and take the pump in because I might need it, or say, no, this is not necessary. I don't need that extra pump. I can return my body back to safety. I'm sick of the stress. I'm ready to do this. Let's lock in. I'm going to open the Empowered Living Framework. This is a 5-step framework. And the first step is seeing things differently. How can I look at the way stress begins in a completely different way? And step 2 is how can I do something differently about the way I react to stress? And then step 3 is noticing my past behavior. How did I do this in the past? Step 4 is imagining a better self. What would it be like if I had the ability to notice my stress build up and choose to act in a different way? And then step 5 is I'm going to create one small win today, something that I'm able to do and I know that I would do and that I could do. Let's lock in. All right, good. Let's give this thing a title. This is part of the building block, return to safety. This is what we're going to be working on for about 14 to 15 exercises, all about regulating the nervous system and teach our own bodies to return to safety. The title is Notice Stress When My Body Warns Me. How do we notice stress when my body warns me? This is why I'm creating this tool, because I need it. I really need it. I can be very stressed sometimes, and this is going to help us. If you're like me, sometimes you just find yourself overwhelmed and it's already there. You are already stressed out and everything is too much. Your body is tense and it's hard to get a hold of your sensations and what you're doing. It's hard to get back in control. If you're like me and that's how you feel from time to time, seeing things differently is definitely going to help. One way of looking at it completely different is asking ourselves the question, what if our body is always trying to warn us? What if my body is always trying to warn me and I just ignore the signs? My body sometimes is trying to warn me, but I just simply ignore the signs. Maybe I've been trained to ignore the signs. Maybe I've ignored the signs for a very long time. Sometimes I feel like stress just hits and it's there. Sometimes I will blame the stressor and I'll say that I'm the one that's just having a stressful reaction. I've trained my body to ignore the signs for decades. And now every time my body warns me, I just don't see the signs. I don't even feel the red flags. I don't pay attention to the buildup, and then I just end up feeling overwhelmed. If we look at it differently, what if stress builds up and whispers first and we just don't hear it because we've trained ourselves to not listen to it? What is the last time that I already felt overwhelmed and it was already too late? My body was already tense. I was already reacting and maybe already overreacting. When was the last time something like that happened? Let me write this down. When was the last time you realized you were already tense and it was too late? We're going to add a specific date and time to it so we can be more specific when we think about that moment. What if the stress actually started much earlier? If it did start earlier, then it would be a good thing to ask ourselves, what did we miss? If we think about the last time we felt tense and overwhelmed and it was too late, we have this moment in our mind. If it started earlier, what did I miss? So stress isn't the problem, but missing the early signs is. Let me write this down. Stress isn't the problem. Missing the early signs is. We've got step one figured out. Stress isn't the problem, but missing the early signs is the real problem. If I think about the last time I was already overwhelmed and it was too late, I will be able to ask myself the follow-up question, what if the stress started much earlier? When did it start to build up? So we've got step one. Let's go to step number two. How do we do something differently? If I don't see when my stress starts to build up, if I don't see it, if I don't sense it, then I can't interrupt the stress reaction. So this step here is all about teaching my body how to interrupt the autopilot reaction by beginning to first observe when it starts, when it builds up, before I get overwhelmed. For the next 24 hours, I'm not going to try to cope and do anything about the stress. What I'm going to do instead is simply observe. Wait 10 seconds and see what I feel, what I see, and how my body is reacting to the stress. Next time I feel overwhelmed, I'm just going to pause for 10 seconds and say, I see you. I'm just going to observe for 10 seconds and then say, I see you. I can feel you. I'm teaching my body to pay attention to the buildup. What we talked about in step one, my body is always giving me the signals, but I've learned and I taught myself to not pay attention. When the stress is there and I feel overwhelmed, it's building up, I'm just going to pay attention, not do anything and say, I see you. So basically what I'm going to be doing is something like today, I'm not managing stress. I'm tracking its entry. I'm regulating my nervous system and teaching it to return to safety, to see the early signs of stress build up so that I get back my choice of how I want to deal with stress, tracking its entry. We're done with step number two. I'm going to do something differently. And basically what I'm going to be doing is interrupt the autopilot reaction by simply observing. For the next 24 hours, what I'm going to be doing is try not to fight or cope with the stress. Instead, I'm going to notice how my body feels, how my body changes, how my body tenses up or speeds up. And I'm going to tell myself, when I feel overwhelmed and pause for 10 seconds, I see you. Or something like, I'm starting to see you. And that's how I'm going to tell my body and teach my nervous system to return to safety and give me back control. Now, let's move on to step 3, 4, and 5. Those 3 steps are always the same, where step 3 is all about noticing my past behavior. I think I've fully mastered the art of fully ignoring the early signs of stress. So there's a lot for me to learn here. Step number 4, I can definitely imagine my better self. I can see myself being someone that is able to feel the build up, feel the stress build up, and take back control. And step 5 is create one small win today. That's basically choosing one physical cue that I'm going to be tracking to tell myself that it has begun. So I'm going to be working on teaching myself how to catch the first ripple before I feel overwhelmed. I'm going to be doing this exercise in the coming days, and I'm going to do it with truth and courage. Tune in for the next drop because I will be sharing all the good and bad of how things went for me, and hopefully you learned something too, because I figure out how to win my hardest inner battles, and then I give you the exact tools so you can win yours. My name is Chris Kasonga. Keep living an empowered life.